That way Skip doesn't know what I was talking about. He can think that we were talking about him or something else. So I should promote one of you to co-host today, just so that I have somebody to bounce off of. Oh, can barely hear me, huh? How about now, Bob? Is that better? All right, I can yell. It's interesting that your hearing must be going because I haven't changed any of my sound settings. So I'm gonna blame you. So today we're talking about stakeholder data, and actually I talked to one of you about this week already. So nice. And I think it was Shane specifically brought this up, but stakeholder data this week is how do you integrate key stakeholder data? And the most important thing you remember stakeholder data is it does result in cash for you. Every time I run stakeholder interviews with a client, it results in more sales and higher project revenue because we are now pitching projects that solve problems for the key stakeholders at our clients. And as Shane pointed out earlier this week, sometimes your point of contact doesn't know everything that's going on. And it's a frustrating thing to feel when you're working really hard, but your point of contact doesn't tell you that there's been this problem going on for months. And I'm sure most people on this call have experienced that at some point in time. And so what we want to do with key stakeholder interviews, which I'll show you over here in a second, is that we want to get a good scope for what is going on with the client so that we can adjust our pitches appropriately. So the example I give is that I had my client and I walked in, I said, hey, what's the problem? And the point of contact said, well, our biggest problem is printers. And I said, cool. So we kind of worked through that. I made sure that the appropriate tickets were opened up with the MSP. And I said, well, who are our stakeholders? I want to get some interviews going. I'd like to at least 3 people to interview. It was a fairly large size school / church, which has been my example for years. And they gave me 3 examples. And when I walked into my first stakeholder interview, I asked a series of questions, which I'll show you over here. And then they brought in their team and they had a conversation with the team. And then it turned out that it wasn't the printers were the biggest problem. The biggest problem was people couldn't get on the internet. They were very frustrated with that. A couple of people were very frustrated that their computer took, a good minute, 2 minutes to open up just a Word document or just any Office document just took forever to open up. And through that, the engineers figured out that there had been no wireless update, no wireless mapping done. For those of you who've been with us for a while, know this kind of story I've been telling. But it turned out no heat map had been done of this entire environment. So they're running over 200 students and under 60 staff on 3 access points. And it turned out that was causing a lot of the printer problems, which in turn was causing problems to be with computers loading slow, which is causing problems with people getting onto the network and a whole slew of other problems. Now, the point of contact thought that they were doing a good job by saying, hey, there's printer issues because that's what got forwarded onto him the most. But when we looked at these multiple stakeholder interviews, we got a bigger picture. And then we were able to pitch them a wireless upgrade project. And so we did a wireless survey. We said, hey, you need to buy another, I think it was 25 access points to cover the whole building and everything. And then they need to have an increase in managed services and everything. And when they got done, they were spending another $7,000, $8,000 a month in services. But the company was so much happier because everything just worked. So stakeholder interviews are extremely important, but they don't need to be done for every client. So for your smaller clients, your point of contact is good enough because there's only 20 people in this office. It's not like there's not rumors going around or somebody's frustrated they can't just hear the person screaming at their computer next door to them. With larger environments, when you start getting to that 50 employee mark, when you start getting to the 200 employee mark, you need to start breaking down and doing stakeholder interviews that represent the different areas of the business. So if you're familiar with something called Dunbar's number is 149, I believe, off the top of my head. So if I got that right, yay me. But Dunbar's number is the number of people you can effectively be in contact with before you start before your relationships start breaking apart. So in an organization, that's kind of your organizational units. You want to have a director over 150 people. Anything more than that, an additional director is necessary. This is organizational behavior for all those of you who are interested in this kind of stuff. But when you look at your clients, if you see that they have 500 employees, how many stakeholder interviews do you need to do? 3. 450. So 150 times 3. So that will blanket most of the company. Now, anything more than that, you start getting into the weeds a little bit. You start getting into operational items and whatnot. But when you have the 3 interviews, you can say, hey, I need somebody over equal sections of the company so I can get a good representation for what's going on. Because the things that accounting cares about are not the same things that sales cares about. So stakeholder interviews, getting the right people in front of the right people is the first big item you need to worry about. And then addressing which companies you have under you, which clients you have that need stakeholder interviews is another hurdle that we found that people are like, well, when do I do stakeholder interviews? Do I do it with them all? No. You only need to do stakeholder interviews with clients necessarily over Dunbar's number. Anything under that, you can generally deal with a point of contact. Some people will break it down to groups of 75 instead. It all depends on the kind of organization you're with. So what I want to show you is how to use stakeholder interviews using the tool and how to integrate them into the dashboard so that they're useful. So if you go over to our, oh man, I got to set everything up now. Bob, can you do a tap dance while I switch over here? All right, now I can do it. All right, so what we have is the desire to show what is going on in an organization. And you have to keep these questions simple. And the reason for keeping these questions simple is you're going to cross-reference these the more you have them. So what we have in the strategy report is we have some things that are grayed out. One of them is a key stakeholder interview, and that is this section right here. And I recommend for each stakeholder interview, you fill out another one of these. So copy, paste, new section if you need to do more than one interview. And I'd highly recommend changing the interview to, Alice. Set it to something so that you know which stakeholder interview you ran. So larger organization, more stakeholder interviews. So when you walk in, the important things to do is you pull up this sheet. Either you can do this on hand. Some of you like drawing things by hand. Some of you like typing them in. So you can pull this up on your iPad. You can pull up on your laptop and just work through it. What day is it? Who are you interviewing? What are they over? Are they over sales? Are they over accounting? Are they over manufacturing? Whatever your vertical is there. Give a little bit of what their job duties are. This is actually really useful metadata for you to have when you're building a report so that you know kind of the context. So if another person comes in and takes over this client, they'll have that information. You can even use this for those of you who have client engagement activities, you can use this to kind of populate who your contacts are at the company. So by doing a stakeholder interview, you tell your point of contact, hey, I need to talk to 3 people over various parts of your organization. And then they give you these 3 new people. Now you have 3 new contacts you can put in the list here. So client engagement activities, yay. So you have a job description here. So you can add in this new person into your client engagement. And then what are they doing? Are they doing accounting? Are they doing sales? Are they doing all 3 of these? Now, you're going to use this question because it gives them context. So people love to complain. So you've already talked about who they are, let them brag about their job a little bit. But then you're going to say, hey, what's your top challenges? Not necessarily technology-wise, but what are the biggest things you work on? So you've got your key job responsibilities, but then you have your challenges. Like, it's very hard for me to balance out executive meetings and employee relations. or it is it is challenging for me to fill out my timesheets for all my employees and get my day-to-day work done. So when they ask what the difference between these two are, these are things that are expected of you, and these are the reasons why sometimes things don't get done. And it could be you'll hear from people like, well, my computer is so dang slow. They know they've got a computer person in the room, so they're going to have that context going on. And so you're really going to give them permission to complain, is what I refer to it as. What is not going well? And then switch them over to what is going well. What do you really enjoy about what's going on here? This is where you start diving into technology a little bit. Or they may spend some time talking about, man, we have a really great culture here. We have good things going on. But you want them to get a little bit more specific. Like, what specifically about your company do you really enjoy? Or what is working really well? They love the response time from your MSP. Maybe they really love their laptop and how well it works all the time, and they got a death grip on it and never want to let it go because it's the one piece of technology they've had that's always worked. And then finally, because you've given them this context here, you're going to ask them what needs improvement. If I could do one thing for you today, what would it be? If one of your problems could just go away, what would it be? And now you're giving them, again, a specific thing to work on. And so you're kind of working through that and giving them permission to say, if I could just come in and my laptop would work on the wireless, wherever I'm sitting. Sometimes I'm in a board meeting and I just can't get on. It gives me an error, it asks me to sign in again, whatever. If I could get that working, I would be so happy. And so whatever that is, you can take that back, because it may result, like the church and school I talk about all the time, it may result in a project that nets you an extra few $1,000s a month because it's solving the issues that are happening to a key stakeholder. And then we come down here, we have what I call these are bonus questions. They're in their own little section. So if you get through this in like 20 minutes, probe some more. These are some of the business things we want to know about. But the top questions you want to know that's going to empower your dashboard are these three right here. What are the challenges they're facing? What is going well? And what needs improvement? Those three things are going to net you $10,000, $20,000 in projects. It's going to give you a better sell, because instead of selling them on the new printer solution, you're going to sell them on a new wireless solution. Which one are they more likely to buy? They're more likely to buy the one that's a pain point for them. So we're going to take this and we're going to record this stakeholder data. You can change this interview however you want to be your own flavor. Maybe you like talking about what's going well, what isn't going well, and what can we do better. That's generally the three narratives I try to cover in stakeholder interviews. You can also add down here, anyone else I should talk to. And sometimes they'll pull in their teams. Maybe they'll pull in somebody you didn't know about. And that interview will help you get that context, so that when we go over to the dashboard, this is saved, it goes over to the dashboard. If there's anything you want to know upstream, you're going to want to put it in the notes section of the report. But what we're going to do is we're going to head over to, so the note section is over here to the right. In case you guys wanted, for those of you who don't use this very often, So you can put down whatever you want here. So you can copy and paste this. You can say Bob said this, Alice said that. I go down to key stakeholder interview. I can grab these three and I can just paste them over here and I'm done. And then when I go back over to the dashboard, I will now have a strategy I can put in front of them and say, hey, we did some key stakeholder interviews this week. I'd really like to talk to you about what that means. And you can see that your report notes are going to be over there. And so you've done these stakeholder interviews and you're immediately going to pop up. Here's some things that we kind of discovered. And what I like to do is if you have multiple stakeholder interviews, what I like to do is I don't like just to post them in directly here. What I like to do is look at those three, collate them, and then add them in as report notes here. So the top challenge is look at everything they complained about and look at the things that were in common. The more items that are in common, so like if 3 departments complained about wireless or connectivity issues, make sure that that wireless issue is written there. Now, when you're talking to the point of contact, you can say, hey, you know, we never really talked about this, but one of the things we discovered was there's been wireless issues happening all over your company. We can solve those problems. My engineers recommend that we do, if you look over the architecture audit, recommend that we do a wireless audit so that we can get you the right coverage. It looks like you're way underserved and we really need to solve this problem. Yes, it's going to cost some money, but at least we'll have a price point and we'll know how we can move forward on this. You know, and then your other challenges are going to go down here. And then also you're going to give them a little bit of a feather in their cap. What is going well? Response times. Or internet has been really fast. Everybody's been able to stream their latest Netflix while doing their job. What needs improvement? And you say most people have requested that we fix whatever's going on with the internet. You know. You know, Sue says, you know, the PC is not working. And sure enough, I stopped by on my way out and I saw that she's got a 10-year-old PC that somehow has never been replaced. So we need to prioritize her PC. So this is how you put your stakeholder interview notes here. And what the great thing is now it's always in there. So whenever you want to talk about strategy, you're going to have notes over here that says these are actual recommendations from their employees. And that will net you conversations here that will sell better projects. And so if you want to, you can even go over to like, let's see here, let's add a wireless project in here for architecture. Let's say here, we'll just, because I'm feeling lazy, we're going to do WAN connectivity as a template. We're going to go in here and we're going to say, actually, problem description, key stakeholder interviews. Technical solution. So you're looking at this, and now you've created a project that is aligned with a need of the client. And every time you come in here, you can say, we have wireless issues. Here's how we're going to solve it. And, you know, in chat, I don't know if anybody's been saying this in some of their peer groups, but when you do it this way, when you add this context in, you're going to sell the project. It will happen. It's inevitable. And that's the beauty of this, is all you did was talk to a few extra people. And that is my broken record here. I will skip and I will talk about this incessantly. So we'll skip. And that you have these conversations and stop talking at your clients, and you'll start making more money because they understand. And it wasn't just the church and school that this happened with. This happened with multiple organizations when I was doing VCIO work, was that I would walk in and actually talk to the client, and I would raise the MRR, and I would increase the number of projects being happening at that client because I had conversations that mattered. I used the church and the school all the time because they were the ones that gave me permission to release their information as a case study. And so what I want you guys to do is understand how important these architecture audits, these stakeholder interviews are, and how useful they are, especially for your larger clients. They are very much worth the hour of time you will spend with a client. It could be on a phone. It could be in person. It could be with their team. Whatever it is, as long as you're getting there and asking them those questions. If you really want to, we can create a recommendation that says key stakeholder interview. And you can actually do it right in this meeting. Or you can say, hey, while we're in this meeting, I would love to ask you these 3 questions. And carve out like 15 minutes of your meeting and just ask them these 3 questions. See, I just want to touch base as a strategic initiative to know what is going on with the stakeholder interviews. I really want to know what's going on internally and how we can make your day better. So that is the 10-second discussion of what a key stakeholder interview looks like and how to integrate it into the dashboard. I know a lot of you, we see the Sherlock, and not a lot of you are using the report notes yet. A lot of you are using the dashboard and using it fantastically. It looks great. But we're not seeing people tap into these report notes as much as we would like. And this is one use case for them that we would like to encourage you all to do because it will generate revenue. I'm going to keep saying it will generate revenue if you include stakeholder interview stuff here. You can even create notes over here and do architecture-based stakeholder interviews. It might even be a great idea that once a quarter, as if you following our HIT, so this is the architecture quarter, you may put in here report notes. We're going to ask this every quarter. Every quarter. So this quarter, architecturally wise, when it comes to hardware in the organization, let's talk about this. Maybe your phones aren't working as well as you want them to. You want a better mobile management project then. Maybe their biggest problem is their laptops are old, or they don't have a big enough screen on their laptops, or they want dual monitor, whatever it is. You can add context to your stakeholder interviews, especially in those smaller clients where your point of contact is representative of the entire organization. So if you had like a 50-member client, great. Then that one stakeholder will pretty much represent everybody. That's great. And what you want to do is ask them these questions. Hey, 15 minutes of our meeting every quarter will be this one thing. That's easy to do, especially for smaller MSPs out there who you don't have a lot of time to get out and do stakeholder interviews because you're too busy helping your clients and keeping them up and running. Doing this in your QBR, it's worthwhile to carve this out. Especially if you don't really feel like doing all the touchy-feely, glad handing in a QBR. This is a great way to increase that perceived value. And you can do this every quarter. Just add it into the notes. These notes are stupid useful, guys. And that way, when you create a ticket that says, "Hey, engineering team, I want you to review the architecture and make sure all the questions are answered appropriately," they can go into their notes on their report without even using the dashboard. They can see what you wrote down in the last meeting. That's how you use stakeholder interviews in the dashboard itself. Now, maybe someday we'll have a nice little button here that splits out report notes and stakeholder interviews. But right now we haven't had too much feedback on you guys on stakeholder interviews. So get that in place. Let us know how you're using these and how you're using them to empower the dashboard. Remember, the whole purpose of this dashboard is to create better conversations with your clients. If I need to create a separate button for key stakeholder interviews, drop down right here, I will. But you guys have to ask. You have to send me feedback so that we can talk to our developer team so that they can start carving out ideas and we can get it on that big project roadmap we have. That's probably where I want to end today, is that what is it that is missing from the product that we can do for you guys? This week so far, we have fixed a really fun issue where we discovered that if you're doing inbound link monitoring on your email, it will break your world. Because what happens is when you share a report out, the link goes to your client, and then they click on it and they open it and it says, "Oh, somebody opened up your report." And it sends you back an email that says, "Somebody opened your report here," and it includes the link. And then their email filter clicks that link saying, "Oh, I need to check this, make sure there's no viruses in it." And then our system says, "Hey, there was a email that somebody opened up your report," and it does this in an infinite loop. So for those of you who have not whitelisted our domain, you probably want to do that for your inbound, because so much fun this week has been happening because a couple clients forgot to whitelist us. So we're actually doing we actually put a fix in to throttle things and make it fix going forwards. But you might want to whitelist our domain if you're using this feature to go forward with. Good news for anybody doing ScalePad integrations. We are pushing out an update tonight that will allow you to see extra fields. So if I open up the test environment, let's see where I got it here. There it is. So if I open up the test environment here, this is our test.managedservicesplatform.com. And if you're an older client, you actually might have a test in here. So you come over here to test and assets. You can now import via stakeholder data. You can now import your ScalePad and you can see extra information. So your asset list will now have the extra fields that you have as titles. So with ScalePad people, thank you, Bob. So with ScalePad people, you'll see that you're going to import your asset list, and then you're going to get the extra information. And even not ScalePad people, if you're ConnectWise, or you just got a really cool CSV or a really cool Excel spreadsheet that you like using, if you upload it into the environment, you're going to get all the extra fields you have. And so you'll be able to like pull up with a client, hey, we need to replace this person's laptop. You know, you can add all of these laptops to your favorite project. So you come down here, they're going to click on these three, and you're going to add them to that project you created from the key stakeholder interview so that you can upgrade all this stuff. Fantastic stuff. If you need to actually edit the kind of assets you have, make sure that these titles here match up to the titles in your CSV. I get this complaint a lot from you guys. If it says workstation and your title is workstations, it will give you errors. So that is under your name and under client asset types. So if you've got your spreadsheet open, go through and map out these fields for yourself. Anything that's not in these fields will just get mapped as extra stuff, but they won't be displayed. This is a really, really useful tool for when you're bidding out projects, when you're trying to put together something, or your stakeholder interview says you need to replace wireless. You can now say, hey, we're going to add this many wireless assets on. You're going to put them onto the project. These are great things to use to kind of augment. This gets a little bit into the operational side of things, which we really don't like to do too much. But God willing, in our roadmap this year, there will hopefully be the replacement cost, which is what you can type in, and then there will be an asset MSRP lookup. I would love to do this. It's a suggestion from Bob out there, where there'll be a separate column like what's the replacement type. So this is a mid-range printer. Replacement cost is X. And so hopefully we can pull that data either from like Google or from an open API that will get us that information. Maybe IT Glue will show it. Whatever our developers come up with, we're trying to find really great routes to pull MSRP pricing on. If anybody's got any ideas out there, send them my way. I'd love to know great aggregators for MSRP. So if I give a product number to somebody, it should give me back an appropriate MSRP. But this is the update that's going out tonight to kind of fix something that was recommended by one of our members. Like, hey, I would love to be able to see more information on my asset types, more than what is in there by default. And this will be the fix. So you'll see that tomorrow for everybody. You should be able to upload any asset list you have into our product and be able to attach it to your projects. That should be about it for this week for updates. We have some, oh man, where are we at here? I got too many tabs open. Next week, we're going to finalize architecture audits with recommendations. How to take everything we've done this past month when it comes to architecture audits. We've covered how does the basic audit, how to run through the questions, how to integrate those questions and data with the dashboard so the projects look really great. And then for those of you going above and beyond, how to integrate the stakeholder data with the dashboard so that you can slam dunk sell these projects. So next week will be how to wrap this into a QBR that is deliverable and how to make those recommendations really mean something more than just, hey, we discovered this thing and here's what you should do. So right now you think, oh no, I have my stakeholder data, I've got the dashboard, and I've audited the environment. I should just be able to walk in there and deliver what I have. Nope, there's one more step, and that is cleaning up your recommendations so they mean something. You saw me do a little bit of it today, but next week we're going to deep dive it with Skip. And then in March, we're going to talk through how to do QBRs and how to do them in a way that's going to attract your customers. And we're going to show you a couple cool tools that we use here at Managed Services to upgrade our client integrations. And we think that it'll work well for you, especially since some of these tools are free. And running effective QBRs with clients, how to get them, get your C levels in there as well. On our podcast, we're going to be covering a couple topics called how to talk to a CIO, how to talk like a CEO, and you'll be able to see those in the podcast. This past week, we talked about, or past couple weeks, we've been talking about how to fire clients, how MSPs get fired. So check out our podcast for a lot of these topics. We're talking a little bit more broad about how to help MSPs. But in March, we're going to be covering largely, yes, March is just around the corner. We're going to be talking largely about how to plan out a QBR. Next week is we're going to finalize recommendations with the dashboard. And then we'll be closing out quarter one. So yeah, people, we're only about 5 weeks away from the end of quarter one. So getting your architecture done so that we can head into quarter two. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Reach out to Skip. Skip's on vacation. He's in Cozumel enjoying the warmth, I'm assuming, doing some snorkeling, petting the sharks, who knows. But I'm sure he's having a great time. He's a much-deserved vacation. He'll be back Monday for everyone. So in the meantime, give me a call, send me some emails, chat with me on Slack for those of you who have me on Slack, and we will see you next week.